Today's interactive lesson is going to be about how to reduce driving anxiety. This is a very common topic, and I've had a lot of questions from adults, from teens, and from parents, as well as driving schools. I teach in the Midwest. I've been doing driver's education over 24 years, so hopefully you'll find this information valuable and you can apply it throughout your life. All of us go through anxiety. Us as adults, driving to work in the morning. You have to get gas, you've got to get a meal, you got to get on the road. Then you have to deal with, do I want to drive in the fast lane going really fast, but I'll get there quick, but it's illegal and unsafe? Do I want to get in the middle lane where it's more relaxed, you're still driving kind of fast? Or do I want to stay to the right and go much slower, but you have traffic merging on, you have cars merging on? I think it's important that we look at everyone as an individual. We're all different. I'm different from you. You're different from me, and that's what makes it really beautiful. I think through the course of my career, I've learned to identify some of the common traits that lead to driving anxiety and a lot of near crashes. So I think this would be very helpful for parents who are teaching young adults. This would be helpful for new driving instructors. This would be helpful for teens who are 19, people who are in their 20s and 30s and 40s coming back from dramatic trauma. And I've had the opportunity to teach adults in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. And I think post-COVID, you're going to see a large group of our society who want to learn how to drive, but they don't have a pathway to learn how to drive. And I think it's important that we don't overlook this sector of the public. I've been fortunate enough to train large groups of 18 to 24-year-olds, and I've learned several things. You need to be very organized in your path of teaching young adults, whether it's in a homeschool setting, whether it's in a public setting, a third-party driver's education school, or private lessons. I've done all of those. And if you have questions, go ahead and put those in. I think it's important that you want to be honest. We all want to learn how to drive. It's fun. You get a chance to drive, but there are also responsibilities. You've got to put gas in the car. You've got to do maintenance, tires, brakes. What do you do if your car breaks down? How long will it take? Do you have money saved up? Do you have insurance? I'm in a state where you have to have no-fault insurance. And a lot of people who can't afford how to drive without insurance. And when they have accidents, they usually leave the scene of an accident. So this hurts all of us. This drives up the cost of insurance. And I remember early on learning how to drive, insurance was about $150 for 6 months. Those days are long gone because cars are more expensive. Trackhawks, Hellcats, Mustangs. I'm in a parking lot right now. I see a Jeep Limited. I see a Caravan. I see a Cadillac truck. I see a hybrid. Vehicle costs are a consideration when you're learning how to drive. If you're a parent, you're probably going to let your son and daughter drive your vehicle. They drive you to work or pick you up. If you have a second or third vehicle, that's good, but it may need tires. It might need brakes. It might need a battery. So if you're a parent, well, I got to save up the extra money. Do I have someone to put this in? Can I call my son? Can I call my daughter, my uncle, my auntie? So there are some considerations. You really have to plan out what you're going to do because a car is a 4,000, 5,000, or 6,000 pound weapon. We don't want to weaponize young adults who have anxiety because we're setting them up for failure. Whenever I evaluate an adult or teen, I talk to their caregivers. I thought your daughter did pretty good today. They were extremely nervous around intersections. They did not look left and right. We know what this means. They're going to get hit by a car if they don't look. They are running lights. Do they understand what this danger is? So I believe we want to encompass the whole student, the whole child, and really go through signs, pavement markings, right of way, And then we want to incorporate road test prep where they're doing U-turns, 3-point turnarounds. I can't do it all as an instructor. If you're listening as a parent or someone who's in their 20s, you really have to find it upon yourself to learn how to drive. I can give you the pathways wherever you are in the world. I can give you the resources, but it's going to come down to you. I can tell you everything. I can show you in-car. I can show you first person. I can show you front view. But you have to be comfortable getting into a car. I have a story to tell you. Several years ago, I was driving in Montgomery, Alabama, Motorsport Park. I love motorsport drag racing. I have a 1968 RS Camaro, small tire car, nothing special, low 9-second car. But that low 9-second car almost killed me. I did my burnout, shifted up to 5,000 RPMs, heated up the tires for about 5 seconds. I was not lined up in the groove. And if you're a drag racer or do motorsports, you have to have your car properly staged and lined up. I held the trans brake button down. I revved the motor up to about 4,800 RPMs. I launched the car, hoping it would go straight. The car went immediately left into the wall. I saw my life pass before me. If I didn't lift my foot off the brake and look straight and try to get my car back into the groove, I wouldn't be sitting here today. I tell you these stories because accidents can happen to anyone at any time. So you have to be really careful. Parents, you have a responsibility too. My day is going very good. I really appreciate you asking. I'm taking time to talk to you. How's your day going? What part of the world are you from? Are you from the United States? Do you have your license? Thank you for asking. I think it's also important that you need to look at every child or adult differently. I like to talk to the parents or caregivers. How old are you? Are you in your late teens? Are you in your 20s? Are you in your 30s? What is your backstory? Do you really want to learn how to drive? Or are your mom and dad simply tired of taking you every single where? Because your parents work every day. I work every day. And then later in the evening, I teach driver's education. I'm online. I'm doing seminars. I'm doing different things. You have to plan your day. And parents or people learning how to drive, if you have your mom or dad or someone over 21, you're probably going to be driving maybe in the afternoon when there's not a lot of traffic. That's a really nice chill time to drive, but sometimes your mom or dad or older brother are at work, and then you're going to be at home. So you might want to call a cousin or uncle who knows how to drive and say, hey, uncle, hey, auntie, can we go driving? Sure. I have a really close cousin, learned how to drive a manual in a Volkswagen. I worked at the YMCA, and a staff member let me borrow it. But little did I know, I did not know how to drive a stick shift. I knew how to start it. I knew how to put it in first gear, but I was terrible at clutch control. And it was a very horrible experience, but I went to pick up my cousin, and we drove around the metro area, and it took like hours when the light turned green to put it in first gear and to get that clutch and gas timing. And you have to be really patient. My cousin was very patient with me. Parents, you need to be very patient with your son or daughter. A patient parent, you will encourage your son or daughter. Screaming at them, making them feel bad, they're not going to want to drive with you. If you're listening right now and this makes sense to you, give it a thumbs up. You need to have a plan. You know your neighborhoods. You know when they're busy, usually 2 to 5 p.m. Mississippi, I have a lot of license, 22 years old. I don't know how to drive. Don't be ashamed. First, welcome. I'm in the Midwest. If I can motivate you to go to the DMV, you need to check with your local DMV. Do they require a TIP? A TIP is a temporary instruction permit. You need to call your local DMV or go online on your phone when you're done with me. Find out what are the requirements. Every state is different. But even if you get a temporary instruction permit, you still need to practice. You've got to have someone with you who wants to help you. And I know that's the hardest thing in the world, but you're going to have to rely on your family or maybe someone in your community who wants to help you. There are always people in your neighborhood who might be willing to let you borrow their vehicle. I have a great neighbor who will let me borrow his truck. But remember, you're borrowing someone's truck or car, and if you have an accident, you're going to have to pay for that. So you're going to have to figure out how you can get transportation. And learning how to drive, you're going to be looking at my video. So first, I need you, Jay, to subscribe. And then we're going to continue talking. You got to have a plan. If you wait, then it's going to take longer. You're going to have someone get you to Secretary of State because you can't just start driving. You have to have some type of legal documentation because if you get pulled over, you're going to be an unlicensed driver. You feel me? So you have to have some type of documentation. Not knowing the rules and laws in Mississippi, if I was there, we would get over to the Secretary of State. I would go in and talk to the clerk. I have a client here who wants to learn how to drive. What is needed? Okay, sir, they need to take a test. Okay, we're going to study the driver's education test. Typically, they're on road signs, pavement markings, right-of-way, driving situational questions, in school zones, how fast, in neighborhoods, how fast, in downtown areas, how fast. Once you pass that test, you've shown the state that you have knowledge and you're not an ignoramus, an idiot driving, right? Because you have to have some type of education. You got to be able to read signs, okay? Do not enter, wrong way, bridge is out. So once you find the rules, then you've got to find someone in your family, Jay, to help you drive. It could be your grandmother. It could be your older sister or brother, your auntie or uncle. Talk to that person. And typically on the holidays, those are really good times because you got all your cousins and nieces and nephews, and they all love to drive with you, but also it's kind of stressful. Next, you have to practice the things that I see that are struggles for beginning drivers: merging an expressway, parallel parking, three-point turnarounds, making left turns. So you have to, hello, how are you, T? We're talking about anxiety and driving and developing a plan to help reduce your anxiety and then to get you on the road. If your mom and dad are too busy and working, you need to find an older sibling. If your older sibling is not there or they moved out, then it needs to be a cousin. It could be a grandmother, right? I'm so scared about learning how to drive. I have a disability too. Well, first, I had a family member who had a disability. He had hand controls on the car. Down was for the brake. The hand control was built in. It was a handle on the left side of the column of the steering wheel. We had to go to a special shop that was certified by the state. They installed his hand controls. So what you see today is a large number of people, unless you have doctor's clearance. You have to be cleared by your doctor to drive. If you have seizures, it's going to be no. If you have some traumatic brain injury, it's going to be no. So do you have clearance from your doctor? If you don't, then that's going to be a non-negotiable. But if you can show that you're cognitively good, then you're going to get that clearance and support from your doctor. But now you have to have a vehicle, maybe a second or third. A lot of people don't have a second or third vehicle. They just have one. And then your parents might be like, no, you're not using my car because if you have an accident, you're not messing up my car. So there are hand controls that are available. Cars can be specially outfitted with brakes or accelerator handles or levers that people who have disabilities can go. Can you get pulled over for having your lights on while it's raining? No. You should always, what's up, Art? You should always have your lights on when it's bad weather because you want to see and be seen. And let's talk about rain for a second or bad weather. We were doing a driver's education lesson yesterday, and I had first-time drivers in the rain on the expressway at night. Those three things create extreme anxiety. Whenever you say it's right, I have a CP, I'm still learning how to drive, cerebral palsy. So you need to get that clearance from the doctor if you can. Again, I'm not a medical professional. I'm a state certified driving instructor. My family member was a nurse. I have some people in the family who are doctors, but you have to have that clearance. And if you don't have the clearance, then you need to have someone drive you, because we as a community don't want to assume the liability if you are in a car, and I'm just being honest with you, and you have a seizure, and you could end up killing yourself or hurting others. So you have to think of the common good, and I understand that. But it doesn't mean you're going to be trapped at home all your life. You should be able to get into a car and have someone drive you around, because being trapped at home is very bad too. So I want you to get out of the house. If you can walk, or you can get into a wheelchair, or you're in a scooter, go outside. Get some fresh air. Don't be locked up at home. And a lot of people who are homebound, all they know is their home. Get out of the house. Get on the porch. Go down the block. Come back home. And I think it's really important, if you are an instructor. Hey, sir, I'm from India. Okay, 16 years old, experienced trailer. Let's talk about this. First, thank you for supporting. And at the end, give it a subscribe, give it a thumbs up. I have not been to India. I know they drive on the left side. I do watch several content creators. At the end of the day, the steering wheel is on the opposite side. You drive on the opposite side of the road, but it's still driving. You have to have good lane positioning. You have to be able to have good maneuverability. You got to watch out for cars, watch out for trucks. India is a very populated country. And if you're lucky enough to learn how to drive first, I'm going to give you a clap. And then next, you have a responsibility. If you're out driving, you want to make sure that you are yielding to pedestrians. You want to make sure that you use your blinker early and often, because pedestrians are the most vulnerable road users. I want you to know this. Driving in a very populated area, downtown Detroit, Michigan, downtown Houston, Texas, downtown Washington, D.C., downtown Los Angeles, California, there are hundreds, if not thousands of people walking in that area, and you have an obligation to be a defensive driver and be careful. Your parents should be teaching you this, because driving in a downtown area is different than driving in a suburban area. Driving in a downtown area is different than driving in a rural area where you have animals, deer. Driving in India, New Delhi, India, is driving different than in Houston, Texas. Driving in a trailer with a trailer adds more complexity. I have an 18-foot open trailer. I have my Camaro on that. When I'm hauling, I try to stay in the middle lane. I have to make wider turns. I have to double check my blind spot. In essence, I'm a new driver, and I don't want to flip my car. I don't want to flip my trailer. I definitely don't want to slam into anyone. So I increase my following distance, as I should. And you have to learn how to reverse into a shop or your garage. That's a challenge too, because I don't drive my truck and trailer that much, only when I go to the track. So there are a lot of elements here that we're unfolding, and driving at night is also a challenge. I was driving a driver with glasses on, rainy, driver's ed car, very overwhelming. Yes, I've been home all day, and I can still learn how to drive with disabilities. You can learn how to drive. You need to talk to your doctor or your social worker, if you have one, and see what programs are available for people with disabilities, right? Thank you for challenging me to show you a new way forward. Being at home is not a death sentence, but you got to get out, get some fresh air, right? I'm taking a break from a driver's education conference. I'm in the car talking to you guys. Okay, then you need to talk to your social worker and say, hey, I'm interested in learning how to drive. Are there some programs? Can someone pick me up and drive me around my neighborhood, my community? Can I go to downtown and see the city, right? When you learn how to drive, you're going to get a chance to go to the downtown areas. You're going to see people you haven't seen before. And that's the beauty of traveling out of your comfort zone. And you will have some anxiety because you need to know directions. You will have anxiety because your car could break down. I'm in a loaner today. there's a trouble light on. This car could break down, but I do know how to work on cars. I'm not dressed appropriately to work on cars, but I do know how to work on cars. So there is some comfort. You need to look at a video course on just basic mechanics, how to jump your car, how to fix a flat tire. But if you have a disability, then you might not be able to operate a jack or tools. So you need to bring someone with you who knows about cars. We all should have a hero with us who knows about cars, who's passionate, who's a car nut, right? My good friend, Bob, he was a very, very good friend, still is. These guys love cars. I can always call him on the phone and say, hey, I have something wrong with my motor. Well, you need to take it apart and look at it. So have people that you can depend on. Look, I enjoyed talking to you. I need you guys to give this a thumbs up. Post questions that you have, and then when I come on live later, we'll talk more about this topic and move forward. I want to say thank you, and check with your social worker, check with your Department of Motor Vehicles to see what programs are available for people with disabilities, elderly, or people who are new drivers, because we don't want to just throw you out on the road and have you panic and have anxiety and freak out. Sometimes that happens. So I love you guys. I appreciate you. Give us a thumbs up. Look at my videos. Subscribe to the channel. Bye.